Why is this lock looking like it wants to do whatever it wants? Over here being an antenna and stuff. Already. You wasn't even looking like that 5 seconds ago. Anywho, I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to be here. Welcome to Embodied Spirituality. I am your host, Ashante Marie, where I feel like, well, I'm really your co host, okay, along with the Most High, where the divine likes to have a conversation with you, me, and thee, okay? Um, Double message for you, but definitely one for me, okay? But definitely one for me, okay? Okay. So, I don't know. I have so much to say. I feel like I don't know where I want to jump in. I'm kind of just like I want to vibe for a second. It's always something about getting on live where it's like you have to just like rock with the energy for like 3 seconds. Because it puts you into a whole nother stream, bro. Literally a whole nother stream. I was like getting nervous before I was pressing to start the video. And I was like, I'm nervous. I haven't had nerves about this in a minute, you know. But also excited. If this is your first time here, welcome. Okay. If you've been here before, welcome. Uh, Grab you some tea. Okay. Grab you a water. Grab you some tea. Some chai, some coffee. You see that steam? Ooh, felt that thing. You see it? I don't know. You can't see it as much as I can see it. But the sunbeam that's coming off of it, or the light ray reflecting off of it, looks cool. Anyways, ooh, you can see the steam a little bit. Okay. Anyways. So I got some tea today. What flavor do I have today, guys? I have some echinacea tea with spearmint, and I'm really excited about it. I actually didn't think that I was gonna like this tea, and my sister had brought it to me one day when I was sick, some time ago, probably about a year ago. Um, I was sick, and she brought me some tea, and I was like, I don't even know if I'm gonna like this, but I made it, and it would make me feel better, and I was like, and it tastes good, and I was like, well, I like it because I'm really like a hibiscus tea tree, the tea drinker. Um, I kind of like the fruity, a little bit more in your mouth, you know what I mean? And sometimes I felt like tea was getting just like dry, even though you would add honey, it would just feel like to me. But this echinacea with spearmint and a little bit of honey baby, it's so good. It's my favorite go-to tea for like when I teach it early in the morning, uh, and then I always am like cooling it off the first hour or so I'm at the rink. So I like will crack my tea bottle, and people are like, "It smells so good over here," and I'm like, "Oh, that's my tea." And any other days when they tell me that, anyways, it's usually just me. Okay. um. So, anyways, how are we gonna get into this? I think disclaimers. That's how we like to do it. Introduction, disclaimers, title, and then we drop in. Okay. It's probably still really hot. Let's see. It's not too hot, but it's hot. Okay. I need to let it cool down a little bit more. Um. Anyways, disclaimers. Obviously, it's named Embodied Spirituality. We're about to talk about spirituality. Um, in that space, I use the word God. If God doesn't resonate with you, you can use other words, divine, the most high, whatever works for you, honestly. Okay. Sometimes I cuss. Okay. Disclaimer number two, sometimes I cuss. It just is what it is, you know? Do I have a third disclaimer for today? some spiciness, but I don't think I need to disclaim spiciness all the time. So that's just kind of a flow. Okay. Yeah, you never know how spicy you're gonna get until you put it in your mouth. I don't know why God got dirty jokes on my spirit today, but let me just tell you, right before I got on this video, I was talking to my sister, right? And she was like, I just took my bath earlier this morning. She was like, I put on my shea butter, meaning the shea butter that I made, that I make, that you guys can buy, okay? The shea butter that I make, and then she mixed it with this oil of like what I'm about to create next, right? Because she already knows like what's about to go on. And she was like, "Oh, I put those together." And I was like, and she was like, "I'm smelling so yummy." And I was just like, "I bet you are." And then insert dirty joke from God. God was like, "Lickable and stickable." And I said, "Ooh," but luckily I was on the phone with my sister who understands that I be with the dirty jokes, okay? And so she be here with it. But yeah, so apparently maybe we got a little little dirty jokes on us today, okay? A little spicy energy in that way, okay? Um, but I feel like there's some other serious business we have to get into first. This is what I've been feeling like all morning. Tug. All morning. I've been feeling like I have so much energy and it's like surging and then it like pulls back, it surges and it pulls back, it surges and it pulls back. And I'm just like, I don't know where to go with this, which is so funny to me though. Like it really has been feeling like that all morning where I'm like, you know, so maybe that's just speaking to the energy. Okay. This, of course, is a timeless reading, but in time that I'm in right now, I'm recording this in October, early October of the 25th year of the 2000th. The 25th of the 2000th year? Why do you want to say it like that? I don't. In 2025. I don't know. It's so silly. Why do you have me out here so silly? I just am like in Sillyville, okay? Speaking about the other things that I make, I do sell sage sprays. Okay, this one is work life balance. I sprayed myself a little bit earlier, and I felt like it got me into like, okay, we're about to record this video, and these are the messages. And I was like, oh wow, okay. I think it's always interesting how like I'll be thinking about these messages, like where I thought I was gonna come to you like 3 or 4 days ago, and it was like, oh, not time, no, like just not the right time. And I'm really trying to follow the flow, and not trying to like force and um, also trying not to miss the wave either. And also understanding that, like, even when I do get like those surges of energy of like, okay, I really want to record this video. Oh, I feel the message. Like, I feel the message, but it's literally just not time. Like, I got to go do something, or I only have 30 minutes, knowing that God be having me out here for a minute, like more than 30 minutes generally. Okay, we're already 9 minutes in, and what? We're just past the introduction, we're just dropping in. It happens. And so I'm like, well, I have 30 minutes, I don't have time. And then if I go, and a lot of the times when I come home too from work, it's like I have the decision between, am I gonna make dinner, am I gonna clean up, or am I gonna record this video? And sometimes it's like I'm gonna record this video, and other times I'm like, no, I really actually just need to take care of this stuff so that actually I can flow better, the energy can move more, and that I'm clear. And I felt like even in yesterday, I took yesterday to do more cleaning, some more self-care. And now I feel like I'm clear. I woke up in a clearer space. I'm like, okay, here we go. Now we got things to do, which is this video. So I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to talk to you guys. I'm so excited to share these messages. Like, I know what's in here, but I don't know what's going to be in here as we develop. So I'm excited for the ride. Okay, title. I just wanted to mention like my auntie would always talk about like the journey. Well, she would talk about discovery. Like it's always about the discovery, right? And to me, that really speaks to the journey, right? And like you know where you're headed, you know where you're gonna get to, or what roads or barriers, or not even barriers, or what like you know levels that you may need to like go across to get to like the end destination, but like it's the discoveries that you make throughout all of those learning processes of those different level jumps that are unknown and are the best, So it just makes me think about the discoveries of what's going to come up in this video. So, shout out to my auntie Noni, you know, God rest her soul, you know. Um, so, title of this video, giving you 11:11 on the clock, giving you the best that I got, baby. Mm-hmm. With a love so strong. Okay. Anyways, Spirit was like, I'm always like, Spirit, what do you want me to call this video? After they gave me like 75% of or between 75 and 90% of the video, I'm like, okay, well, what am I calling this? And then this subcategory, was 1 mucka 2 mucka 3 macarena macarena. And I said I'm not calling it that, and not just like I'm not. It just like I knew it wasn't like resonating like that. Like that's not really what this is about to be. But I am going to use the song. Like that may be an honorable mention in the video, obviously. And I thought about that song in regards to like just trying to follow the flow. In regards to being a high achiever, and and the counting was like all of my accomplishments because it don't just be one. It be 1, 2, 3, and we keep going on. And what? And you say my name, hey, my girl, Ashante. That's what they say. That's what they say. They call my name. Then you scream my name, Ashante. So yeah, no, just knowing that is who I am, who I am. I'm not an overachiever to where I feel like I need to like do to prove to somebody else something. Like I'm just a natural achiever. And then when I feel like I really care about something, I usually put a lot of energy behind it, which to other people may seem like an overachiever, but sometimes I just be like, that's my normal. My people will call me an overachiever, and overachiever is my normal. Okay, so I don't know, an overachiever from my perspective, would maybe be more like doing so much more, like needing to be the best at everything all the time. Like, okay, speaking of, um, there's a guy, I was watching this cooking show yesterday, and there's a guy on there. His last name is Sargent, and he's very like, he grew up with like military parents and whatnot, but he's very like adamant about putting. Did he, or just other people did? I don't know. Anyways, he is very like serious. He's like, I work 80 hours a week. I believe if you do anything, you're trying to do your best. Now I believe in that to an extent, but I also believe in balance. And you can't necessarily be all of that in both, right? There has to be, if you're a real like overachiever, there's a piece of sacrifice that you're not necessarily in full balance. But maybe that's just my assumption. And I don't even know how we got there. But all I am saying is some people may call me an overachiever. My overachieverness is my naturalness. And just feeling like I'm getting back into myself with that, where it's like, sometimes for the last, I don't know how long, I've been feeling a little wayward. I've been feeling a little where am I going? Where am I going? Where am I going? Sort of thing. And like feeling my way through the dark a little bit, you know what I mean? And um, like, lost my train of thought. Feeling my way through the dark. So like, I haven't feel like I've been on my like game, so to speak. So like, so, that's so crazy. Why would you use that analogy? In my head, right? Because I feel like back in the day, or in those moments where I am like, oh, I achieved this, or I'm really great at that, or I get an award for this, and I get that, you know. Um, I feel like in those spaces, like, oh, my names are in the newspapers, you know, in the best way, you know. And so I just feel like lately, okay, my name hasn't been in the newspapers for overachieving and or just for like doing the things that I do. How about that? My names haven't been in the newspapers for doing the things that I do. And, you know, I just feel like I'm getting back into a space where I can create um, different pockets where I'll be able to achieve new goals that I have for myself that I maybe necessarily didn't have time for before, or it wasn't the right time, you know, for before, because I had other things on my plate at that point. But I just feel like I'm coming home to myself, is what's been going on for me. I feel like I'm going to be saying like, and if you have a problem with that, oh well. People used to make fun of me about that when I was growing up a lot. And even at that point, at a certain point, I had to stop caring because it used to be my family all the time. All of my cousins. Oh, she just says like, oh, she's the white girl. And like, granted, I went to a school that had more people that looked Caucasian or Asian versus people who look like me. And there are some people who said like, but I didn't say like. I don't know. I just like the word. I don't know. It works for me. But even at that point, after like people used to make fun of me, then I had to get to a point where I'm like, I don't care. Like you can call me a white girl all you want. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Maybe I am then. If that's what you think, maybe I am. You know? And it's weird because I feel like it really came from a place of like not even just the fact that I would say the word life, but because I would achieve things in that in the space that I grew up, you know, of course, education was important, but it wasn't like I saw a ton of people who excelled in education. I didn't, you know, grow up in a family that everybody got a degree. Like literally, I think it was only my great before my sister, it was like my great aunt. Yeah, yeah, you know, and so yeah, it was like my great aunt, my sister, and then me. Like that was like from my knowledge, you know, unless we go a little bit outside of the family or people who like married into the family. But when I'm just talking about like when I think about because I grew up with my maternal side of the family, so when I say my mom and not saying like my dad's side, it's just because I grew up with my mom's side. That's who I grew up with. So between my mom and her kids, me and my sister, and my mom's sisters and their kids, right? Um, and then even my mom's mom, my grandmother, and her sister and their kids. There wasn't that many, like literally, I think what I said was what I said, okay? You know, like there wasn't that many people who got degrees. So education was like important, but not important. It was like, if you do well, great, you know, but like, I don't know, you know? And I think between like the larger, that's that bigger hold of a family, the expectations were maybe low, but within like my mom raising her daughters, the expectations were higher. She was like, you have to go get a 4-year degree, period. And I remember being so mad at her because when I was like 16 and it was that time to like look at schools, or even 15 and look at schools, like when I was always an artist. I was always somebody who wanted to dance, who wanted to be like, who wanted to do the art stuff, I wanted to live like a butterfly, you know what I mean? And or go to art school. Like I was like, I don't know. I either want to go to art school, I can go to culinary school, I can do like blah blah blah. And then at a certain point, it was like, okay, well maybe I'll be a party planner because that kind of like touches in on all of these creative things, right? And I remember looking at Juilliard and being like, that looks like cool, but do I have do I have the background? Not quite. Not quite. Okay. I did not like I danced a little bit, but it wasn't like I was taking weekly classes, like doing all these things like that. Wasn't that, a little bit in here. Like I knew I had a little bit of stuff here and a little bit of stuff there. I hope I have some more honey at the bottom of this teacup because it's not as sweet as I want it to be. And let me see. Yeah. The other thing that I really like about this tea, as a side note, is that I can leave the tea bag in there and it doesn't get crazy. Certain teas are too strong or not too strong. They just get really bitter if you leave them in there too long. And this is not one of those teas. Usually the tea packets are in there the whole time. For me. Cool. So yeah, we had different expectations. I remember like sitting with a counselor who also knew me from figure skating. She was like the only, like one of the few only Black people that had somebody skating at the rink that I was at. And she had a younger daughter who, yeah, a younger daughter. I don't know how much younger she was. I want to say it was like kind of like 6 years younger than me. So I want to say she was like 9 and I was 16. 8, 9, 15, 16, 17 maybe. Anyway, so something like that. And my counselor name was Alicia. So Alicia, 2255, we were talking or whatever. And of course, my mom had a relationship with her too because of that. Not just being my school counselor, but also because she could see her at skating and they could have conversations, whatnot. And my mom had already been through breast cancer at the time. So it's not like she was seeing her all the time, but when they would talk, and they had each other's numbers. So my mom was really adamant about being like, because I wanted to, I had looked into like more trade schools by the time that I was getting a little bit more serious. So I'm like, I don't really care about all these other stuff. Like, yes, I'm good. Yes, I'm smart. And that was the thing. I grew up as a smart person. I grew up as the person, like everybody is like, if anybody can do it, Ashanti can do it in education. Just like, you guys are wild. Like, I just do me. And I do love to learn. And I've learned that I am a learner and I am a teacher in so many ways. And I've also learned that I am a scholar, which is so cool. It's so funny. It's like, oh, go get a master's and now you're a scholar. Cool. Somebody puts weight on those words, okay? And it sounds cool coming out. It's just like saying an entrepreneur. I think before I became a business owner, like I was fascinated by the word entrepreneur. I didn't even know what the word meant. Couldn't spell it for sure. Okay. For hell years. But I was like, this word sounds really cool. This word sounds really cool. And I kind of want to be that. Like, I don't know what that is, but I kind of want to be that. Because when they were like, oh, it's just like, somebody who's willing to have multiple businesses, that sounds about right. Entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Backing up, my mom was really like, okay, you're going to go to a 4-year college. And I was like, ugh. And my sister, who's 10 years older, had already, been in that process. I think she was just graduating or graduated. She had my nephew in the midst of that too. Um, yeah, I was like 16, sure, something like that. Something like that. And so, yeah, I didn't really have the option to not. I didn't have the option to not. Um, how do we get here? Because I am going out of order quite a bit. Bear with me. Because I was starting to talk about coming back to myself. Oh, and then I started to apologize for the word like. And just how education, especially back in the 80s, 90s, and I was really 90s because I was born in 89, but like basically in the 90s, in like Oakland, um, there was only so much. There was only so much, to me it felt like a small town, even though it wasn't. Um, it felt like a bubble, you know? So when I would show signs of not being somebody that came necessarily just from the bubble, people would call me white or whitewashed and blah, blah, blah. And like, what is happening in the sad part about the whole thing is what's happening is that you're degrading your own culture. You're degrading your own culture saying that because I am educated, I'm more white. But I get the thought process. It's just an unfortunate thought process. you know? So, anyways, pulling out of that conversation a little bit, because I just don't feel like at a certain point you have to not give a shit about what people say. And people are going to call you, they could call you everything under the sun. And the more popularity you get, the more you're going to get people saying some stuff. You really at a certain point have to know not to let it affect you because it can go back to where they came from, to say it in the nicest way right now. Um, but all in all, I just feel myself coming back into myself, being somebody who likes to achieve things, being somebody who kind of breaks the mold, being somebody who takes risks. Like I'm very much a Capricorn in that way. Um, and being the leader of some shit or being on top of some shit, like that's normal for me. You know, if anytime I'm taking a role that's not like the lead of something, usually 99% of the time by choice. By choice. Because if I want it, like if I really want it, then I'm probably meant to have it. This is such a random. God is so funny. It keeps taking me on these like different tangents. But one of the and not to say I get everything or what, like there was an internship that I wanted, but I was like, I halfway, like a piece of me didn't necessarily want it. I wanted it because I thought it was kind of cool. You know what I mean? But it was like, I wasn't like passionate about it. I thought it was interesting. I didn't really feel like it was like my route, And that was like some like like summer internship, I think, something like that, at the White House. And this was like over a decade ago, easily, like 15 years ago or something. I don't know. But it was like supposed to be like some summer internship or whatever. And a friend had told me about it. And I was like, that would be really cool to do. And it's funny too because I feel like I applied for it and I was like, I wanted it, but I didn't want it. I wanted it because I wanted a change of scenery. Like I wanted something different. And I also wanted to learn a little bit from that world, but I was like, not, it was just like not quite it. Right. So did the application. Then I had a dream that like, that I had got it and my friend had got it. Right. Um, or I was just in the room. So back then, when I wasn't doing like, I would have dreams, but I didn't do as much dream interpretation to where I would know what meant what or being able to distinguish or be able to like pull back. I wasn't journaling my dreams, I wasn't writing them down like that. So, um, first, I don't even remember it all the way. I just remember having a dream. And I remember being like, I felt like I was in the room, but that could have just been me seeing the room. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes in dreams, you're like, you are in your body or as you in your body. Um, and then sometimes for me, I feel like in the dream, I'm just like watching a show. You know what I mean? And sometimes even watching a show, you know, you feel like you're in it. So you're like, are you in it or you not in it? Right. So in that space, I could have not been in it. I was just watching it. But I thought I was in it because I was watching it so intensely, right? But anyways, in the dream, I felt like I had gotten it, but I also felt like my friend really got the internship, right? And I remember telling her about it. I was like, I had a dream that we both got it. And she was like, oh, that's really cool. And lo and behold, I didn't get it. But she got it, okay? She got it. And matter of fact, because I think that her role is like a a bipartisan like role, she's been working at the White House since. Okay, this was like 15 years ago. Like, and if you're watching this, shout out to you. I love you, and you're one of the reasons why I like you. I buy. Aren't you so cool? So like, but I didn't really want that, right? I didn't really want that. So it's okay. Like I wasn't really feeling like I felt a little like I wish I was flying off to DC. But other than that, I was all right. So then fast forward to other things that I like want and get. Um One like so I told you guys that if you've been here before, I did a wilderness rites of passage course through my school, and it's one of those. It's like really a wilderness rites of passage. We go and live in the woods for 10 days. 3 of those days we go off solo, and we are without food and shelter. Yes, you heard me right. No food, no shelter, only water. We have no snacks. It's none of that, right? We have snacks maybe as a backup in case like you need it as an emergency, but the goal is to only have water for 3 days. We don't have a tent. You have tarp, some rope, you have a sleeping bag and a sleeping pad that you can carry on your back. Anything that you can carry on your back. Okay, maybe some art supplies, maybe you're a musician and you have your little guitar or ukulele or something, okay? Um, but yeah, so we did that for 3 days and then we go back and then we reintegrate. So it's really like a transition. Okay. But I remember hearing about this wilderness rites of passage, being intrigued, knowing I wanted to do it, sign up for the class. And it's like it's a harder, not a harder class to get into, but kind of sort of like it has a limit. And a lot of people want to do it every year. So got into the class. And within like because there's so many weeks of prep before. We're learning about a lot of stuff, being in nature, blah, 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 working through our shit. What are we going to be doing? Healing stuff. Girl, I went to school for psychology, so all of that. um, but I remember by the time that we were on our way up to the campsite, right? We had so long of a drive. We stopped at this one like pizza parlor or whatever that had like bathrooms. So we went there just to kind of like base before we go to a place where we didn't have any service, no Wi-Fi, none of that, right? Too. Mind you, no electronics on this. Duh. um, duh. Um, and I remember being in line for the bathroom, and it's like all the girls are kind of like standing there, talking. And I asked some questions to the TA um, about like what it's like being a TA and going about it and all this stuff. Like, if I want to be a TA for this class, like, what does that look like? And so she was giving me the rundown, but it wasn't just me, it was some other girls standing there too, because other people wanted to be a TA. It's a cool class. It's a cool class, you know? And now that you like know what you're getting into to a certain extent, it's like, oh, I could see myself wanting to like help this class. And so, anyways, fast forward, I applied or put my name in the hat, okay, because that's pretty much what it is. But it was a lottery. It was a lottery to where pretty much she picks the names out of the hat, And I knew even in that conversation in that hallway, I said, this shit is mine. It's mine. I said, I'm going to be the TA for this next year. I'm going to be the TA for the next year. Like, I just know. And so my humbleness, right, kicks into being like, well, there's so many other people, other people have great things to offer. And is a lottery. So it's not like I can just like be a better person for it. You know what I mean? Like, I just have to hope and wish and pray, And, but I knew somewhere in me, I knew. And I remember having a conversation with somebody who I see as a peer, but also a mentor in certain ways, in an aspect of life, and who also was applying to be a TA for that class. And I don't know if I told her I felt like I was gonna get it, or we were just talking about it, and I was like, no, I feel like I'm gonna get. I think I said something to those sorts. And I think she kind of brushed me off and was like, anybody can get it. And I was like, no, you're right. You're right. But I just knew because I wanted it. Like, I wanted it in a way that I didn't even know I wanted it. It wasn't like, oh, I just want to be a TA and somebody to be, I don't know. Like, I just was like, no, I just feel like this is something I'm meant to do. And I didn't know it felt like that, but that was what was going on. It's something I meant to do. And it was probably like 2 days before the new year or 2 days before Christmas. It was something in that holiday season, right? December something. Where we're supposed to be finding out. And I get a call from the instructor of the class. And at first I was like, why is she calling me? And then I was just like, oh, could she be calling me about whatever? So I'm just like, hello. And then she was like, we did do our lottery process. We put our names in the hat. Like, we did, they do like a prayer and like a ceremony around it to try and, make sure that they're really drawing forth the person that really is supposed to be there. AKA me. I was so juiced. I'm still gassed, bro. Okay. But she told me that I got it. Okay. And that was amazing. And I was like, I just knew it. Because I knew what was for me. Like, I knew it was for me. I knew it was for me. I knew it was for me. Period, point blank, period, point blank. Okay. Sign my name. Okay. And it was definitely another like level of integration, another level of a rites of passage in so many ways. So many ways. And I am so grateful that I got that opportunity. So grateful that I got the opportunity. And the person that I was TAing with, because you always have like a partner, best person. Best person. I remember like hearing that she was going to be my partner and I was excited, but me and her hadn't like overly connected, you know? But it was so cool, which was so beautiful. It was just so beautiful because we didn't like overly connect while we were doing the wilderness rites of passage. Like, of course, we're hearing each other's stories in the same room, so we have like an affinity towards each other. But it's also like, we come from different places, so you kind of have to like in different places that don't necessarily fully resonate with one another or just need time to understand each other a little bit more. So throughout the trip, we still had like moments. Um, was she my partner there? I think so. Okay, wait, is that true? I think so. I can't quite remember. But so when you go off, right? You have the morning, they give you like tea or whatever, and then you walk past the threshold and then you're like off. Like you're supposed to separate everybody, find like we've already pre-found our campsites, so now we're going to where we said that we were going to be by. And I think she like maybe helped me with my water or something because I had like my yoga mat too. I think she like helped carry my water. She was like, "Oh, I'm fine. Like I'll help carry your water," because her campsite was over the mountain front. Like if mine was here, there was a mountain. Hers was on the other side, so she would have to walk to mine to get to hers, right? So she helped me with that, and that was cute. And I'm sure we had like other moments during the rites of passage that were like small but mighty, right? And one of the moments that I even like loved before I even knew that I was, going to be co-TAing with her was we went to we on the way back, the whole group, we stopped at I don't know, some other restaurant, right? Like just to kind of like get back into the world. Because when you go so far away from technology, all of these like buzzing phone lines, right? Um and Wi-Fi freaking um and then you're also not distracted by like anything else digital that you could bring with you, no television, no iPad, no iPod, like no nothing, you know. Um, and you're literally just with wilderness for days. When you do that for so many days, coming back, you need a moment because it feels overwhelming. It feels like, what in the fuck is this shit? Y'all just been living like this, which reminds me, it's so similar to like there's a when I go to Whole Foods at the one that I go to for my job lately they have this like conditioner that's overhead and right only at this one spot, like it's not the whole freaking area, it's just this one spot on the way to a counter that is just like buzzes to where it just like aggravates the nervous system where you're just like I'm fine and you're like ah! And then you come back into normal as soon as you pass. And that's what it's like coming back into the regular day-to-day city world that we live in. It feels like buzzing when you haven't been in it. And it's the same way when you're coming back from like Burning Man or something like that. There's a name for it, there's a word for it. It's like not decompression, but maybe it is. It's not decompression, it's like I don't know. But anyways, for the sake of this video, we're calling it reintegration. um but sitting at that table, 4404, sitting at that table with her, it was like we had finished eating our food, or like one slice of pizza, whatever we ate. And we were just like, I was just saying, like, I'm just so grateful for you because she does, like, throughout that, she showed up as such a, like, strong woman, and just like somebody who's been through things, somebody who has, like, lived, but also is learning and is growing, which we all were, all of these 44s, okay, all over the place. And we like held each other's hands like this, right? Across the table. across the table like this, just holding her hand, and just like showing appreciation for each other. And I was just like, I really appreciate all the time that we've shared, all of like the memories that we made, what I've learned about you, and that you're such a strong woman. I just need to tell you that. Like, I just need to tell you that. Because I had grown so much admiration for her, I think, over and throughout the trip. And so that was like already one of like the highlights of my trip, was having that moment with her specifically. And then they told me that I was going to be TA with her, and I was like, what? That's so interesting. And it's so interesting that we had that moment. And it was so good and so rich. Oh, because what's for you is for you, bro. And that moment was just even like a catalyst, a setup, a like preview of like, y'all's about to be in this. And we worked so well as a team. And I felt like her strengths, where she would like really want to take charge at, I was like, all right, cool, you can take charge there. Like, even though I'm good at that stuff too, you can take charge there, and I'm gonna do stuff over here. And it just worked perfectly, because then when I did the stuff over here, she was like, I could never do that, you know. And because I was the embodied person, you know. um and like even like being on the thing, like there was moments where I was like, oh, she's so on. And then there was a moment where she had gotten so many, that's like a whole nother story, but so many of the people on the trip got sick. And that's a whole story, but it's like to no fault of like, to no fault of us, you know. And but she got sick. um on one of the important days where like the vision questers were coming back. Like they've been in the woods for 3 days. We've done meditations, you know, all the things, and they're coming back. And like one of the instructors is down sick, and my TA compadre is down sick. So it's me and one other instructor, right? And we're just like, we got to pull all this together. And we did. And you know, it was like a day or two of like them needing to like recover and rejuvenate. And that's kind of like kicking into high gear, but it was perfect. Like it was perfect. I had the ability, I had the will, I had the, you know, I had the care, you know, to be there. And, you know, she had done so much to where I felt like, girl, no, please let me, this is the least I could do. You take care of yourself, okay? Okay, because she was a planner. She was like a very like detailed. She has almost like Virgo like energy, right? Where it's like I'm gonna get everything down to the last detail, and I'm like, okay. And not to say that the whole thing was smooth sailing. There was moments where it was like we would rub up against each other a little bit, and I'll be like, I don't understand, or I would have to have a conversation with one of their instructors, and like, and it's just growing with each other and learning each other, you know. But it was just such a beautiful, beautiful time. But again, knowing what's for you, like I knew I was meant to have that. I knew I was meant to be the TA. Like I just knew. It wasn't like, oh, I just want this to want it. Like I didn't want it to want it. I wanted it because it was meant for me. Sometimes you can just sniff that out. Sometimes you can smell it out. It smells so sweet. That's dessert. Ooh, that's just for me, right? So, anyways, coming back into yourself. I just feel like I'm coming back into that. I'm coming back into, okay, what are my next things that I'm about to like off my list, you know? I think it's interesting how in the last couple of years when I've been feeling like, okay, I know something's changing, but I don't know what's happening. You know, God, you know, tends to like to have other plans too. You know, I remember, and that's when I got the busiest that I've ever been, and as a coach in skating ever in my life, busiest. And I said, whoa, whoa. The moment that I thought I was about to step back, God was like, here you go. Take care of this, please, before you go. And I said, wait, what? How do I hear that? Wait, what? 49 on the clock. What do you mean? What do you mean? That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. Um, and what's funny is that's the similar thing that happened. Like I used to have a custom cake business with my sister. It was called Calling the Shots because it was custom cakes and Jello shots. Um, and so before there was a year, right, where we were like, okay, we've been doing this for a couple of years, kind of, piecemeally, or not piecemeally, but just like not officially in the like getting the paperwork done side of things. Like we had our business name and normal business license stuff, but when it came to like renting a kitchen, we hadn't gotten to that yet. It was just like homemaking. So we wanted to get into that space, but doing all the financials and the tax and things, and learning that too at the same time, because I was kind of freshly out of college, my undergrad, so I'm still like learning, um, and real world is different a little bit. So the year that we're like, okay, we're not gonna take as many orders. We're gonna focus on getting our paperwork done so that we can really do something with this, right? Got the busiest year and a half. Again, similar shit, right? The busiest year and a half of baking that I had ever had. I had so many orders that year. Thank God. And it was so cool because it was a lot of business orders too. So I'm not making like 3 dozen cake pops. I'm making 300 cake pops. What? I'm not making I'm not making 5 dozen cupcakes. I'm making 300 cupcakes, all individually wrapped. What? What? You know? Um, so we was out here and I was doing some tight looking ass cakes. My cakes were getting better and better, better and better. Okay. and but in that time, because we were so busy, like we didn't get the paperwork done. I felt like I was doing a lot, and I felt like I was doing a lot by myself, so it just wasn't sustainable long term. On top of, I was still I was still working at an ice skating rink at the time. Okay. And I was in the midst of becoming the skating school director. So I was putting in extra hours there, putting in extra hours building this business too. And, at a certain point, I got burnt out. Got burnt out from the cakes, and I was like, we had to be done. So that was like the end of that. That was the end of that. But it goes to show that, like, God gives you gifts, right? And talents and skills. And there's a certain amount of people that, like, God is like, you need to reach, you need to touch, you need to influence, you know? And sometimes you have to just go with it. I came up on here a video not too long ago where, um, I had met the kid. He was like, he's like 12 or something, 12, 13. Yeah, like 12, 13 years old. And after I had spoke to him and before I saw him the next time, I was like, wait, the same one that I made cake pops and cupcakes that were like nautical theme for that kid's baptism. It was baptism, right? Not first communion. I feel like it was baptism because it was like year old. So cute, so cute. So you just never know like who you're meant to like cross paths with. You never know who you're meant to influence. You never know who is meant to influence you. Um, and even like one of the it was like my sister's coworker that ordered like a lot for her family. I did her like 40th blurred lines. That was cool. I had some cool freaking events I did, to be honest with you. To be to be fair, oh my gosh. Okay, so maybe this is just a moment of appreciation. So I did Blurred Lines. She had a party for that. That was her 40th. I think it was like her son. Her son had a Cars party. That was one of the epic cakes that I did too. Um, I did a couple other orders for her, but another order that came up this week for me that was just in my mind was the one that I did for the manager at the skating rink, who sometimes I just be calling her boss because it's easier because I got her boss for so many years. But she ordered one for her dad's like 75th birthday party that I got to deliver onto like a USS ship. Which was so cool. That was such a cool cake too. Like the creativity was epic. I was out here killing them. Okay. And just in the moment, I just want to say special prayers to her dad, the one that I made that 75th cake for. I know that he is in a different space now and he had to move into a medical facility this week or this past week. So I just want to send him love and send him care and send him a big hug from the divine, and that I hope that he feels cared for, and that I hope that he continues to be cared for, and that his walk, oh, Jesus Christ, that his walk um, is easy. Okay. So you never know. You never know. And oh my God, it makes me want to cry. Hold on. So even like I said, with this like coaching and skating stuff, the last 2 years, 2 years ago, it was more just like I just felt like there was a shift and I didn't know what that meant. Like I just felt like skating was shifting in my spirit and I really was like, this is unfamiliar. And to be a skater for as many years, 20 plus years as I've been, and going through different transitions and really always being mindful of what transitions I'm in when it comes to skating, to be in that space of unknown was like that level of unknownness for that length of time of unknownness felt very uncomfortable for me. But I also grew a lot in that space too. I attracted a lot of students. I put on a lot of productions. I influenced a lot of people's skating, you know, um, journeys, and I'm grateful for that. And one of the, what was meant to be the start of this video was talking about sensing major change, right? And or a transition. And when I say major, I don't mean just like spiritual where nobody can really see what's going on. Maybe I mean like major because it's like such a physical thing of change that it's gonna be known, you know. Um, and so when I was thinking about examples to share, I thought about one being in the choir, one being in the choir. So I was in my church choir, and 2 to 26, 20, yeah, 26 or something like that. 27 maybe even. Like been in my church choir, okay? And my mom has been in the church choir. My sister has been in the church choir, and all my cousins and stuff, like that's been, that was its own family in itself, right? I have my choir family. And it was a unique experience to have it was a unique experience for like I don't know, I don't want to talk about the priests because that's really not the point. The point is, while I was in the choir around 24, if it was 26 where it finished up around 24, okay, I was like, what am I doing? I've been here for so long. I've been here for so long, you know? And like sometimes when you are in a place that you've been in for 20 plus years, it starts to feel, or even like close to 20 years, it starts to feel like other people keep viewing you like you're your young you, even though you know you've grown, and even though you get accolades for being grown and evolving and changing. There's still just like the dynamic, that energy still feels the same in a way, or that you can't like fully get out of it. Like you can't fully get out of like what everybody has thought or assumed for the last so many years. I can't come back and just show up as a new me because you guys see me all the time and just don't like to see me anywhere like as anything else, you know, like just stuck in a bubble a little bit. And I just knew that I was like, something's gonna have to shift for me. Like I'm here, I'm I've been at different places when it comes to my relationship with spirit, with God, with the Most High. Um, how other people would want me to show up for God, and versus how I felt comfortable showing up for God. And you know, even though there were times where I was like, I don't know about like the messages that are coming from the pulpit, you know. Um, I do know that God blessed me with a voice. I do know that God feels me, you know? Like I fills me up, you know? Um and if my singing is meant to help anybody's cup being filled, you know, if I am just one note of the many notes that they're hearing that helps fill their cup that much more, like I was willing to show up for that. Easily. So that's where I was at. But I was also like, but this is not hidden for me. Like it's not, is the juice worth the squeeze sort of thing. And like for so long, ample juice. Not apple juice, ample. So much, so much. And then it started to get to a point where it's like it's not as much. Like I'm still getting juice out of this for show, for show, for show. But it's also creating, there was a level of where there was toxicity going on in the church. That's how we're going to say it. There was toxicity going on in the church, that it was like, okay, how long are you willing to endure this before you have to realize that it's not for you? And as a choir whole, we, after so many years, 3 4 years of endurance, it was a decision that we needed to step away. We were asked to step away, and then we also decided that we will respect the wishes of the person who asked us to. So, and apparently, and then there was like, it became this whole like, I don't know, fight between like, oh, the choir thinks they're so good and blah blah blah, and, you know, whatever, whatever. There was all of that, to where even the congregation, it's crazy how you see church dynamics play out, right? The, you know, congregation was half on that, like, oh, they can go because they think they're too. Sir and ma'am, sir and ma'am, are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Okay. Because lo and behold, and of course, as we knew over the years, where we do have to come together as a choir, like I just recently sang at that church And this, we stopped being a choir there 12 years ago. 12 years ago. 11 years ago? It couldn't be 12, because if it was 26, it couldn't have been 12. So maybe I was like 25. Maybe it was like 11 years, 10 years, at least 10 years, at least 10 years. So, with that being the case, like anytime that we would come back to sing, say, whether it be sadly for a funeral or, I don't know, what else have we been asked to sing for? I don't know. But when we come back together, now people are all over us. Oh my God. Oh my, where have you been? You guys need to come back. Where are you going? Come back, please. We need you. Sir and ma'am. Y'all was the same ones who was really like halfway putting your boot behind us too. Okay? What do you mean? And you know, everybody is also living their own lives. Like 3/4 or a quarter of the choir moved to another state. Like they don't even live in this state anymore. So you can't have us back the way that you guys had us before. Like that's not that, you know? And you need to appreciate it. You should have appreciated us more while we were here. And not letting some other outsider, mind you, not letting some other outsider fucking influence your opinion too much about us. Knowing that you know where we've been, how we've gotten here thus far, and how we've continued to show up. Girl. But because these fucking toxic behaviors of also just following behind, one, a masculine, two, a religious masculine, just following behind any old fucking dick slinging masculine in a religious girl. If you don't get out of here, if you don't get out of here and use your critical fucking thinking, use your brain, use your insight, your intuition, girl. What in the name? Like it's so frustrating. And obviously there's a piece of me that still needs to purge some of that shit. Okay? Because as being one of the youngest people who actually like grew up in the choir, there was other like children of the choir who was born, you know, after the choir had been set. But I was there at like, you know, the early stages. Okay? I was alive in the early stages and a part of it in the early stages. So being one of the youngest official members of the choir part of the choir, we had some younger musicians, you know. I was still also always still considered the baby, you know. Being in that space, I had to kind of hold my mule to some extent. Like I was loud. I could be a little rah-rah when I want to be rah-rah. And I would have my opinion, you know, and state my opinion because I like to do that when it's necessary. But I don't really feel like I was able to maybe fully navigate my frustration or my hurt or my disappointment in the system. But then at the same time, there was a piece of me that was okay with the change because I felt the change coming. I felt like I needed a change and I knew I needed a shift. I just didn't think the shift was going to be like, oh, we ain't doing this at all. You know, but it is interesting because I feel like even for the first year, because most of that choir, we have been showing up for 18 plus years, you know, more or more. Like getting a year of a break was like, whew, oh, a relief. And then you start to really sense the missingness of like what's gone. You know, oh, we don't have that, or this is different. And we would still get together and kind of sing and do our rehearsals for the first couple of years. But then again, as people started to move or as things started to change, we wouldn't, you know, as much, you know. But like I said, bro, and I know YouTube was around then, but social media and that whole hype wasn't around then. If we was singing when that was going on like that, Y'all see another star on this screen, a different type of star on this screen. Okay. Um, but anyways, so choir was one of the examples for a major transition. Just like sensing it, I just knew. I just knew for years. I was like, something's got to give. Something's got to give. Something's giving. Okay. I don't know what it is, but it's giving. And I feel like the only other instance I have, or not the only other, but one of the other instances I have is being the skating school director, right? And knowing that that was coming to a close. I knew going in there was a shelf life. I knew going in I was going to end around the 5th year of me doing the type of work that I was doing. And so when even a year before I actually knew where I was going, like because I had sensed the transition, because I knew something was coming, I was in that state of like search, what's gonna happen? What am I gonna do? What da, da, da. Oh, and the other part of like not only sensing the major transition is narrating the feeling of what you want to have with yourself as those things wrap, right? So with being the skating school director and knowing that I got about a year. I know that we about a year. Um, I knew that like going into certain things like the holiday show, I knew that well, I knew that the second to last holiday show was like one of my last like major holiday shows. Like I'm doing this like this is like my full job holiday show. I knew the following one I was probably going to be out the door, so I'm still working it, but it's like my graduation holiday show versus like I'm in it. Okay. So anyways, even if we go past that, I knew that the March competition that happens, I was like, oh, this is about to be my last competition. Like my last big one, right? I was like, I may get the October one, right? Which is a smaller competition at our rink. But the May one that's at our, or the March one that's at our rink, I was like, one, this is going to be my last one. So I want to do it big. And I did do it big. Like that was like, I got more things approved from the bosses to where people had like different things because sometimes, you know, when you work at any place, I'm sure, you know, you can have certain people that are making it a little bit special and it can kind of dull out over time or they start cutting corners here and there. And I felt like for some time, it felt like it just became basic. The competitions weren't as exciting. And I felt like when I went to that rink specifically, because that wasn't my home rink, that's not where I grew up at. But I remember going to that rink when I was a kid, competing at that rink, and feeling like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Their goodie bags are the greatest, you know? And it wasn't like that much in the goodie bags. They had one of those like little foamy airplanes that you could like rip, you know, perforate it off of the sheet, you rip it apart, and then you stick all the pieces together that got the little slots or whatever. And then like a couple of pieces of candy, and then I don't know, like some other like artsy creative thing. But it was very like small. It wasn't very expensive. But I remember just having those little things made that competition so much better. Like, okay, during the meantime when you have to wait and blah blah blah, like it was just so much better. And so I was like, I want to make sure that I create something like that for this competition. And so I did. I got certain, like I said, I got certain things approved. There was like places where people can make little picture frames that had little, you know, shamrocky thingies on there. Um, so yeah, I had like, you know, just creative things. And that to me, I felt like made the competition. And to be honest with you, I feel like it made the competition um, attract more people over the following years that I even didn't run it. Okay. Um, because there was like an expectation of, you know, having a fun experience. And so I did end up doing like the October competition. I think I also tried to make that super fun. And yeah, so just knowing how I wanted to go out, like I didn't want to go out with anger. I didn't want to go out feeling frustrated because that was big for me. I saw that when people would hit their shelf life, they would just be like, "Rawr," when they would be leaving it. And I was like, I don't want to be there. I feel the raw in my spirit, in my spirit, because I can understand how it drives you to that. But I'm like, nah, because when I signed up for this job, I didn't sign up for the politics of the fuck shit. I didn't sign up necessarily to like, I didn't sign up for the other shit. I didn't sign up for the other shit. What I signed up to do this job for was one, to make children as happy as I felt like skating made me when I was younger. To be a part of that system that does that, that influenced that. Because to me, skating school was one of the main reasons why I'm even sitting here as a coach of 25 years, okay? Or as a coach of 15, 10, 15, 10, 10, 10, 12. I don't know. I'm not counting right now because I don't have the patience to try and do my math. How long? Something like 10. A little over 10, I think. Officially. If we want to count it unofficially, I'll call it 15. But I've been skating for only over 25 years, okay? Um, over 25? What audacity I have. It's really 23 and some change, or 4 and some change. Girl, what? How old am I? How old am I? I am 24. We're at 24. Get into 25. We're at 24, getting into 25. So I'm not far off, okay? But anyways, um, yeah, that makes sense. Math is mathing. 24, almost 25. 20 hours later. Um, but yeah. So sensing transition. I felt like I sensed that transition. I felt like I sensed that I wanted it to end a certain way. And even with the choir stuff, like, even though I didn't know what came afterwards, I didn't, you know, I felt like I tried to be the one of the people that kept more of my cool throughout those transitions. Um, but one of the reasons why I came out here is because I feel another transition coming on. Like I sense it. Like I sense it, you know. And I definitely think it has to do with uh, being at the rink that I'm at. Uh, and I feel like I'm always going to come back and I'm going to visit and I may co-coach or guest coach or whatnot. And I don't really know where I'm going. And I might still skate there, but I just don't. I don't feel. Feels like something shifted. It feels like there's something else coming. It feels like there's something else I'm supposed to be doing. Um, and I'm going to be working on my other projects. Like this is one of them, obviously. But I want to make sure because, and I, the reason why I know that there is a shift is because it feels so resonant of that. And again, like I was saying with the choir part, was that, you know, when you start somewhere when you're one age and then you get so far along in another age that you're like, wow, I think certain people are still seeing me in a certain way. I think I still see myself in a certain way because I'm in the same space. Like I need some change. I need some involvement. I need some shift, you know? And I feel like that. Like I've literally this year, before I turn my next age in only a couple of months, this year makes the year that I have been there half of my life. Half of my life. So when I was there at 18, like it's been 18 years since I've been 18. So yeah, I think it dredges up some of the same feelings of I feel like I'm 18-year-old going to go and talk to, you know, my boss and I'm this small little person and like this big adult person. And I'm like, no, that's not that. That's not that. We're all grown now, thank God, you know. Um, and I know that other people don't always see me as that. Like I feel like I get a lot of respect for the growth that I've made and the echelon that I have reached in my skating. But I think I personally need a shift so that I feel like I shifted, so to speak. So I don't know. I feel that in my spirit. I just want to make sure I'm narrating it the way, like I want to end it nice. I want to, I want to end it nice. Like I want to make sure that my students are fucking golden. I don't want it to look like nothing else. I don't want to feel like something's being stripped away from me. Like I want to feel like I intentionally am putting something down. And I wrote like the end or like until later, you know what I mean? Or, until next time or whatever. Like, I feel like that's where I'm at. I feel like that's what's happening in my spirit. And I think a big portion of that is how I feel about myself, you know? Earlier this week, I don't know if I was feeling like a level of intimidation or what, but I was like, what is this feeling? What is this feeling? And after like 2 days of feeling that, of like feeling like unsure of myself a little bit as a coach, or my knowledge or what I have or what I'm capable of teaching, like that shit started to creep in. And I was like, first of all, I don't like living here. Like, I don't know who likes to live here, but it's not me. So I need to get up out of here. God said this is not even where you like to, girl. You can't even lay your head, okay? Not even for one moment, girl. Don't even sit down. Don't touch the walls, okay? Walk out immediately. That's what I feel like it'd be like when it comes to that energy, girl. You're that spirit. Um. So So as I started to put those thoughts behind me, and I was going into work, I'm like, first of all, I'm not here. First of all, I'm not here for these other fuckers, anyways. Like, let's be all the way fucking clear. I am not here for Jim or them. Okay, Jim, Slim, or them. Okay, Jim, Slim, or them. I am not here for none of them. Okay, I'm here for my students. And that was the thing that had got me through one of the days I was little. I think it was like Tuesday or something. And I was like, in my feelings, like, do I know what I know? Like, WTF. Because, sometimes students don't be picking up what you be putting down, and you be like, why? But sometimes it just be the air, the day, the atmosphere, all of that. Sometimes it just be that. So Tuesday was one of those days. But even my student, like, she had gotten better at one point, and she was like, "Oh, because of you," so, talking to me, making me feel better. And then other students had said bye to me or whatever as I was leaving, and that made me feel good too. Where it's just like that's who I'm here for. I'm here for them, these kids, these people, the ones that need me. Like, I'm here for them. I'm not here for them other ones. I'm not here for them other ones. The other ones get the benefit of having me in the room and hearing the message. That's what it is. They get the benefit of sharing space. Okay? But I'm not here for them. They get the benefit of smelling the sweet flower, okay? Hearing the sweet melody in the air. Seeing beauty grace the ice. But I'm not here for them. I don't care. I don't care. I'm like, I'm here for these kids. So of course, Wednesday early morning, I'm like, I'm more locked in. I'm like, I'm here for him. Here for them. So Wednesday was fine. Wednesday afternoon was fine. Yeah, I think I had gotten on and made a video probably after Wednesday. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, I had a conversation with a parent that day that we had, we got on the same page with, about certain characters of Jim Slimmer then, okay? And so I was like, don't worry. Don't worry. I'm going to handle them, okay? Because I pray about it, okay? Anytime where it feels like, oh, I need to say something, I need to say something, speak up, spit a little bit. Anytime I feel like that needs to happen, best believe I have been praying for days, okay? 4 days, okay? Not just like, oh, I just prayed this one time. No, nope, 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 nope. If you see me at 3 o'clock in the PM, I probably have been praying on it for 5 of them hours before then, at least. At least because I be praying that God just moves me into a way that I am just gonna be moving like them, like God, like in a respectful manner. I'm not just about to curse somebody down just because I have the will and the might and the timber. You know what I mean? Like, is that what one is that what they really deserve? Two, is that what's gonna make the actual change? The point of having the conversation is for the change to be made, not just to fucking get shit off of my chest. No, it's for change to be made. Changed action. So what's the best way to go about it, God? What's the words? But I also need them because sometimes when it gets to a point where I have to have a conversation with somebody, like they were getting the subtle messages and notes beforehand. If it gets to a point where I have to have a conversation, I also have to reiterate in all of this, like that I'm not the one, okay, or the two, okay, to fuck with when it comes to certain things. You know, like I'm not that. Like if you think that I'm some other one or another one of these other coaches out here that's not going to open their mouth and say something to your fucking face, let me be clear that I'm the one who will say it to your face. And try not to cackle in it afterwards. So yeah. So yeah. Um I had to know who I was there for, and I was there for these kids. Okay. And sometimes I say kids, not just meaning kids, because I teach adults too. But when I say kids, I mean like all of these inner children that I'm working with. Okay. Including myself. So this just draws me to, because it threw me on a tangent. This draws me to confidence in the midst, having confidence in the midst of being around other sharks. But you've been one and you know stuff, right? So of course I was feeling, some type of way earlier this week. And then even after Wednesday having that conversation with the mom, I was like, all right, now I gotta carry this other energy, this mama bear ferocious, I'll rip your throat out type energy. While also trying to be kind and professional. Um, and unfortunately, also trying not to feed into the stereotypes of an angry Black woman. Like, I'm literally the only. There's one other Black coach that's there. She's in and out. She's like, because she's in college. Like, I think this is her second year of college. So I think she's like here on the weekends or something like that. Um, but mind you, she was in my skating school. So really, I'm one of the few Black coaches, um, only that's girl. The other person that I was talking about earlier that got the internship, she was a Black coach, by the way. Okay. But then she left and I became the only Black coach. Like she was the only one. There was like one, and then she became the only one, and then now I've been the only one. And I'm like, I can't just be the only one. Can we have more? Can we have more? And there's been others that come. My brother had come with his wife, And they taught there for a while, which I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. But then they had to, do their adult stuff too and just be, living their life with it because they live far too. They were traveling like an hour and a half or whatever or longer to get to the rink on the weekends. And so after a while, it just didn't make that much sense. So I understand why they couldn't stay. But so I come in on Friday knowing that I'm going to have a conversation with this one guy. But in the beginning, the first like hour of me teaching, there was this other one on the ice that I've already had to have a conversation with in the past. So there's some level of like mutual agreement, But he's gained more popularity, I guess, in the last 8 months. Good for him. Great for him. Great for him. Hand clap. Okay. But and not to say that it's boosted his ego more, because I felt like he's always had a level of that ego. Yeah. But he definitely has just a tinge more of one, right? So a little bit more of a, I'm gonna puff my chest here and my chest there, and half the time, again, I don't be caring. I don't be caring. Okay. 1:30, 1:31 on the clock, as I said that. And but that day specifically, or even like that Wednesday before, I felt like he was kind of like throwing his energy towards me a little bit, and I was like, maybe I could be taking things personally. Maybe it's me or whatever. But then even on Monday or Friday morning, like I'm teaching my one student, I go to a different area because I'm just like not in the mood to deal with that energy or even to think about that energy. I really just want to focus on my student. And after a while, he started to just like follow me around, like follow me and my student around. We're over here for one moment, for a few minutes, and then here he comes, being over there, standing next to me. So then we move somewhere else, and not to move away from him, just naturally, we were doing another thing that put us at a different part of the rink that we needed to be in. So I went over there, then he's coming over there. I said, oh. And that's what I wanted to mention, cat energy. Cat energy versus dog energy. Now, dog energy, as great as it is, and I love all my little nephew pups and my pup friends and all of that stuff. I love them. Love them. Okay. But there's something about cat energy. There's something about cat energy that I am so grateful that I know about, that I be about, that I am about. Okay. Because there is something my cat does. It be getting on my fucking nerves too. I be like, stop fucking pacing me, bruh. Like, just pay. Like my cat. She'll do it a couple of different ways. She'll do it like, say she just like wants attention or she wants me to feed her even though I've already fed her or whatever, and she thinks that she needs more food even though she's had so much food that day. She'll just like walk around me like a big circle. Like I'm sitting in the chair, she'll walk to there. 2 seconds later, she's walking. And then after like 2 laps, I'm like, girl, first of all, because you're not doing shit. And cats aren't really, cats don't do nothing that they don't want to do. So if you're pacing around me, you're pacing around me for a reason, bro. But you're not about to keep trying to get my attention subtly. Like, fuck, no. Go sit somewhere else because I see what you're doing. Go sit somewhere else because I see what you're doing. Okay? And that's one thing that I love about being a cat and knowing cat. Like even the other day, I got on the video and I was walking. There's this cat walking behind me, quiet, but something in my spirit said, "Oh, because there's a cat walking behind you. Because you have cat energy too. You can sense things. Oh, great, 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 cool, cool, cool." And I think even earlier this morning, something that Zyla likes to do too, which instead of just like following me around, because following around is one thing, right? But she literally just tries to like pre-follow me. So she's like walking in the direction that I'm walking. So she's like low key in my way, but then acting like I'm chasing her, which I'm not. I'm just walking the way that I'm walking, but she's over here trying to walk the way that I'm walking before I walk there. Right. And I tested it out too this morning because I was like walking from the living room to the kitchen living room to my bedroom. And so walking down the hallway, and I'm like, why is this girl in my way like this? Like, get out of the way. Why are you in front of me? Because she was already like trying to get my attention. So I'm like, she's trying to get my attention from the front. And I'm just like, ugh, what do you want? And then I was like, look, watch. As I got to a certain point before I like turned the corner to walk around to the other side of my bed, because I knew that she was doing what she was doing, I was like, I'm about to stop. So I stopped moving. And then she's like, all of a sudden she got busy. She's like, oh, let me sniff over here. And as soon as I started to walk again, here she is trying to be right in front of me as I turned the corner. I said, you wasn't even over there. Where you were sniffing was the opposite direction in which I was walking, you know? So I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So seeing that in my cat and having cat energy and being around it, like, thank God. Thank God I know I've been around cats for so many years that I understand what was going on. But he was doing that on the ice. And I was just like, you're so boring. You're so basic. You're going to follow me. I still don't care. I still don't care. I literally moved to 4 different spots in the rink. And when I tell you this MFer followed me around the rink, right? And then it was interesting because I was like, my student was working on one thing. And after a while, I was like, it was really hard for her to get on the correct edge. And this skater, she's like undercover so fucking good. Okay. She's like, because she's like not that serious about skating, she doesn't want to compete or anything like that. She gets freaked out about like tests and stuff. Like, she's just be like undercover good. You know, she don't come in for extra practices or nothing like that. Like, she just be under. She will sometimes, but just in this current schedule, she hasn't been. So we're working on edges. I'm like, she's not really getting on the edge, and so I'm explaining it. I'm like, are you just trying to listen to what I'm saying? Why is this guy around me? Ugh. And then I'm like, now I'm really focused on my student because I'm like, well, let me see you glide a couple of times. So I had her glide and do a couple of things on that foot. And I was like, well, let's go back over to where I normally stand, where my stuff is at, so I can put my thing down, my little like helpful tool down. So I could check out her blade more because I needed both hands, you know? So we skated over there, 4th spot, maybe 5th spot at this point. Sure, 4th spot. And I look at her blade a little bit more, and here he comes. And then I have her like doing some more 1-foot glides, and there he is. Just, why are you trying to be? You just want to be around us, you little just vermin, just people, just get on my fucking nerves. This is me showing myself. Forgive me, okay? But that's what it feels like on the inside. People be like, "You are so calm." It's so funny. I get so many compliments from people. You're like, "You're so calm. You're so zen." And it be true. But like, do you know what a calm and zen person had to do to get to calm and zen? Go through a lot of fuck shit. It has to silence a lot of, you know? So, anyways, that's what you guys are hearing, the internal thoughts, but the external was calm. Okay. I was just like, whatever, loser. Because if you feel like you have to do that, why are you so focused on me? I have never been that focused on another fucking coach in a lesson I've never been that focused on another coach really in my life that much. Okay. If the only time that I may be focused on them is just like it's my job to critique what they're doing. Do I care? Do you have fun? Teach something. So anyways. Right? Lo and behold, the skater's skate is like off. And like in some directions, it doesn't look like it's off. Like when you see her gliding 1 or 2 times, you're like, well, that looks fine. It looks fine. And then she'll do one more, you're like, that looks really off. Okay. And so one of the other people who teaches in the same box as me, she's like a skate expert, and she's helped my students like find skates over the years. Uh, so I was like, hey, can you look at this skate? Like, I'm sorry that you're in the middle of your lesson. I know you are. Can you just look at her skate? Because I feel like I'm tripping. Like, is it me? Like, am I tripping? So she like has her do a couple of different things, like glides and all that stuff, and then like has her sit down and looks at the blade. And so she tells me what she feels like happened, that it like shifted, like the blade shifted, so lo and behold, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. But I was like, I didn't know if I know when a blade is like crooked where I'll like, oh, just tell somebody. But this one just seemed weird, Sometimes the skates, you'd be like, and I don't know exactly what needs to happen to it, but I know it don't look right. I know it don't look right. So that happened. That was one session. So there's an ice cut. We're getting back on the ice. And we solve that problem with the student, or at least like have a potential solution to happen. So now I have a different student, and I get on, and like the students aren't really there yet, hers or mine. And she was like, good catch, good catch. And she said it really loud. I need to stop calling them that, but it's just so funny in my head, God. But for them other people, because now it wasn't just one, it was two of them, right? For them to hear. She was like, good catch. She was like, most coaches wouldn't catch that. Give me my flowers then. Give me my flowers then. And I was like, I didn't know if I like knew. She was like, no, you knew what you were talking about. I said, give me my flowers then. I said, come on. She was like, you know what you were talking about. Um, so we kind of like, finished that conversation a little bit. And mind you, the other person came in, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to have a conversation with this other person, because that was what I needed to do. So as I was skating around, they said hi to me, and I said hi back, and I was just like, hey, we're gonna have to talk, you know. And then we talked afterwards, and I kind of felt like they were on that like brush off energy. Okay, okay, and I was just like, some days you just pray extra hard. Some moments you pray extra hard, because you're like, okay, energy, catch me outside. But also too, I think that there was this energy of, because I had let them know that I wanted to talk to them, they made a sidebar with their buddy, and I don't know, I just got this like impression that there was this energy of like getting in trouble with the principal. And it wasn't coming from me, so I think I was picking up on maybe something that was going on over there, or even that other person could have maybe made a statement along those lines, which is fine with me too. It wouldn't be the first time I was called a principal. And I've been lovingly called a principal. When I was a skating school director, one parent used to say, she's the principal. She's the principal. You have to listen to her. She's the principal. That would be so funny to me. But yeah, even as I was teaching and I felt them kind of still like their energy or around and whatnot, I had to be like, look, first of all, I know what I'm talking about. Second, I'm not a new coach. I'm not a new coach. I've been doing this. And even it's funny what you hear people say, like what you overhear, and how that can just even be messages from, spirit, the divine, or somebody subconscious towards you in a way too, or something that you need to know. Uh, And even that one coach, the first coach, I felt like he had said something along the lines of like, it's good information. It's just, we just say it differently, something along those lines, something like that. And then, even more that just like solidified within me that I was like, I do know what I'm talking about. I do know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I may say it different ways. And granted, I hope that you have more fucking experience than me. You were a skating school instructor when I was learning how to skate. You have like almost 20 years on me. You have about 15 years on me. I hope you know more. I would hope to know more 15 years from now than what I know right now. I hope to know more by tomorrow. So, you know, that's why to me, I don't feel like intimidated by some of these people. So even when I was feeling a little bit of that earlier in the week, I was like, girl, why? Girl, why? Girl, why? It's pointless. It's pointless. What is that doing for me? Making me feel like I'm less than. Gross, ill, get out. Gross, ill, get out. you know? And then the other thing that I wanted to say, I do need to get off of this screen real quick or soon. That was the alarm. Um, I wrote down push and pull because I had been feeling that push and pull energy. But also, I wrote down maybe they were meant to be a bit of your wind. So, wind is necessary for a tree to grow. For a tree to grow big and tall and strong, it needs to experience wind. Because as it experiences wind, it makes the tree want to root itself deeper into the ground to become stabler, to become sturdier. And the more that they can root themselves into the ground to become more stable and to become sturdier, they can grow outside of the ground bigger and stronger and wider, and taller, whatever it is, whatever type of tree they are, they can become more luscious, right? But they have to experience wind in order to ground their roots more. And so, to me, although it can be an irritating circumstance in so many ways, I'm like, well, maybe they're meant to be my wind. Maybe Slim Jim and them are sometimes people who are meant to be my wind. They're here to push me a little bit and not push me like they're going to dominate me, like they're going to push me over, like they're fucking stronger than me. No, that's not it. That's not it. Because Slim Jim and them all together couldn't push me over. But maybe they're meant to push me a little bit so I ground myself, so I reaffirm my own self, reaffirm my own gifts, restabilize my own self. Like go back to my, not even just going back to the basics, but reviewing the basics or reviewing, even like earlier last week or 2 weeks ago, um, when you are the skating school director at an ISI rink, you know the freaking ISI book forward and back. You have to be gold rated. So even if you come in and you don't have any test ratings or anything when it comes to ISI, you have to become gold rated. That was a part of one of the many things I had to achieve. And then you have to do update tests. So you have to know the ISI book pretty much like a Bible, okay? Know where to find things, know what information is what, distinguish some major information from other major information. My nose is itching. And the other day when I was talking to, this lip stuff is bothering me. Sorry, guys, and thank you for bearing with me. But we were signing up my student for a competition the other day, and some parent asked, "Oh, is she going to sign up for this versus this?" And the parent was like, "Oh, I don't know. You have to ask her." And I was like, "No, we're not doing that. We're doing this." And in that, I was like, I sometimes forget about that subcategory. But I was like, if I remember correctly, I'm like, even for this subcategory, we would still need to do a test, which we didn't. if we wanted to compete at this one level, we should have taken this test before, but we had another test that we had to finish up in a different section. So we focused on that first. So, anyways, test. Um, she needed that. And she needed that to be in one level. But if she wanted to compete in this like subcategory that the other parent was asking about, she still would have had to take another test. And I was like, that was explained to the parent, yeah, that would be the same. That would be the same thing. You know, the same hoop that we would have to jump through. So it's better that we do this so that we can just do this, you know, and then in the meantime, we can get the tests ready so that we can do that too for whatever following competition needs to come up. In that though, I remember like feeling like, do I know what I know? 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 And I kept going back in my head to where I kept questioning myself over and over to where I'm like, no, I know. But then I kept being like, no, I don't know. I'm like, do I know? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I know. Going back over past conversations I've had with other people, you know, books I've read, whatever. And I'm like, no, I know. No, for sure. I know. So I was like, but in the dance in my brain, I was like, let me just go get my book. My book is in my locker. Let me just go get my book. So I grab my book, flip through the pages, find the stuff, and I'm like, no, I do know what I know. And I was like, I told the parent, I was like, I just had to double check with myself to make sure I knew what I knew. Okay. And I do to make sure I knew what I knew and I do. Okay. So it was given that energy. Sometimes just like checking back in with yourself or checking back in with source, you know, to reground yourself or to expand your grounding, you know. And so yeah, that whole concept of like maybe they're meant to be my wind as much as it gets on my nerves sometimes. And I think that they're only meant to be my wind to some extent. I feel like when if they start to feel like they will like no, anyways, not even that analogy. Um to help me grow a little bit, you know. Somebody has to have a little competition or whatever. And I'm like, here's my thing: I don't ever compete against these other fucking people. I'm competing against myself. And that was the thing I wanted to show up for this week. Who am I? Like, I'm not trying to outdo you. I'm trying to be the best version of me. And that's the difference. That's the difference. And anytime that I become misaligned with that, I'd be like off kilter. And I have to come back to myself to remember my only competition is me. The only thing I'm trying to prove to somebody is to me or the divine. Trying to show up, but it's really to show up for the divine, you know? But I'm trying to be the best version of me. Giving you the best that I got. That's how we got to the song. Giving you the best that I got. And that's what I wanted to bring up. That's why this song was the title, because there's, even though, you know, she's talking about love or whatever, right? There's a couple of things that she says in her lyrics that I was looking up earlier. Um, yeah, sometimes the scales are unbalanced, or the scales are sometimes unbalanced, and you bear the weight of all that it has to be, you know. And then there's also everybody's got opinions about the way they think our story is going to end. Some folks need to feel it's just superficial, it's just a superficial thrill. Everybody's going to have to think again. Check. Check. Um, we love so strong and so unselfishly. They don't bother me, so I'm going to keep on. They don't bother me. Um, so yeah, it was just like that energy. Like people are gonna say what they want to say. People are gonna have opinions of you that they want to have. People can try and influence you, you know. But you have to know who you are, what you have, what God has given you, you know, and then walk in that. Like nothing's really meant to disturb that, you know. Nothing's really meant to disturb that walk like that. You know, if things come across your path, it's one because they're meant to be. Say it, God, because you speak it through me. Um, I feel like I've gotten through like so much of what I wanted to say on this list. I mean, I should. It's almost at the 2 hour mark because I told y'all this is long form. You either sitting here or you, I don't know, sitting here. I don't know. Maybe you running out for a run. Anyways, let me just go over some notes because I do want to go to my sister's today. I'm going to go over my sister's house. And be with my mom and the other sister. Yeah, I was just saying, feeling like I'm coming back to myself, a dreamer with hope and willing to take action. Like I do like to achieve things, and I was thinking that with the one Macarena, two Macarena song too. When it comes to like, or it was around the same time that I was having that thought earlier this morning. But even with skating, like even though I know that my transition, that there's a transition coming in, um, and like me at that physical rink in the capacity that I've been at that rink is going to shift soon. Um, what? Um, I do know that I always want to be a part of skating, and I'm always gonna skate, and I'm always gonna like visit the places that I frequent. Because even like when I left Oakland as an ice rink, I still knew I was gonna come back and visit, and I do. I go back to visit, and I get to be a skater. Um, and I think that I'm kind of just trying to step into being a skater again in a way. Like I'm still gonna coach. I think. Like I'm just guessing. I say that as a safety net, to be honest with you. Um, for a while, I know for sure, for certain, for a little bit, okay, some time until until the plan gets laid out a little bit more. Just like I knew I was going to go somewhere when I was done teaching skating school, I didn't know where I was going until like 2 months before. Until like 2 months before, I had a gauge of it maybe 3 months before, max four. But I want to tell you, 4 months from when I knew where I was going, or where I was going, to where I didn't know, like I didn't know, and then 4 months happened and I was there. Do you know what I mean? Like time changes. Time can change really fast, and time has been moving really fast. The fact that we're in October is crazy games, okay? Um, but yeah, knowing that I want to be kind of, my nose is itching so much today. Knowing that I want to be in, I still want to skate for myself a lot and like do things in my skating. And as and now 30 months till 40, I am still wanting to do a lot with the sport and I want to do it sooner. I want to do it sooner. And I'm not saying that like there's going to be a limit or whatever, but because I do know some like 50-year-olds that are out here getting it on the ice, okay? These late 40s, mid 50 people be out here getting it on the ice sometimes, and I want to be doing that too. But in the meantime, before I get there, I want to do something now. Like I want to do something now is what it feels like. But there's going to have to be a piece of me that shifts for a while, you know, or for forever. I don't know. Um, but I'm excited about the upgrade more so. I'm excited about the upgrade because even as I was stepping out of being a skating school director and I was going into school, during school, when I would go skating, I was able to come to the ice rink and be a skater. And I needed that time. Like, I needed that time to be a skater. And I actually grew so much in that time to where that made me an even better coach for when I came back. And I think that's what I'm craving. I'm craving a time where I can focus on elevating my coaching. Like, because I'm good, you know, I'm good, you know. There's a piece of me that wants to be fucking fantastically great, okay? Olympic level great. There's a piece of me that wants that. But there's also a piece of me that understands that that's a certain level of sacrifice that I'm not sure if I'm willing to make right now. But when it comes to my own personal skating, before we even get there, when it comes to my own personal skating, there's certain things that I want to do for myself that I felt like I haven't been able to pour myself into because I'm so busy trying to pour those pieces of skating into other people. You know, it's really a hard tug of war to do both. You know, and I feel like if you see any coach out there that's like skating for themselves and coaching, I wanted to let you know that that coach is probably not skating as much as they would had had they not be as popular of a coach that they are. You know, because there's only so much that you can give. There's only so much off ice jumps and spins that you want to do when you're trying to make sure that the kids even know what to do. Okay. Let alone all the background stuff that happens when coaching, cutting music, emailing these parents. Girl, when I tell you I get messages and emails all times, you know. That was one of the reasons why I was tired of being a skating school director too, because it was just like that was really all times of the day and it was way more people to where I was like, but even now, like there's a level of like I get messages all times of the day. I will get a message at 11. I will get a message at 1 a.m. in the morning. I will get a message at 2. I will get a message at 4. I will get a message at 5. Like there's no time of the day that I have not received a message as a coach. And that's okay. There's a piece of me that signed up for it. Okay. Nature of the sport is what it is. Um, but I'm looking forward to the upgrade. I'm looking forward to my own personal upgrade. And I really did. Like that was something so rare and nice, but like some of the things that people like compliment me on are just like love and like one that I can teach really fucking well. Okay, like crossroads. Before I remember, before I started school, I could like my edge work wasn't the shit. Okay, far from it. Okay, it was 222, 202, something like that on the clock. My edge work wasn't like the best assist. I didn't feel comfortable. My body was different. But as I was losing weight, because going to school was my losing weight time, right? That was that was the time that I was locked in. So as I was losing the weight, you know, I would skate. I would feel more comfortable on edges. I wouldn't feel like I would have to force as much. Um, and I would go to my friend's edge class. My friend would teach this edge class, and her edge quality is just like impeccable. I would I would like go to her classes and would learn so much and would practice. And, me learning that and getting better at my edge work then made me so much better. As like I was able to do so much more in my coaching because of that. And even now, I can get somebody to do some pretty saucy, sexy, okay, cross rolls, okay? That gives me so much gas, bro. I'd be so excited. And I wish, this last week with one of my students, I was like, oh, I wish I would have recorded her because I was like, oh, in my brain, I was like, let's work on crossroads because I hadn't really done too many with her. Um, and so I was like, okay, well, show me your crossroads. And I was like, those are interesting. They weren't like terrible, but they were just like incorrect in form in certain ways, in multiple ways. But this student is also like good, methodical. Um, and so gave her a couple of edits here and there. By the time, girl, by the time that she did it like a third time, fourth time, or whatever, I said, those look like some nice crossroads, my dear. And I know other coaches was eating them up. Because I get excited if I see somebody, a skater that I know has only ability to a certain extent, and then they come past me and they're doing something that I ain't never seen them do before. I'm gonna be like, you know. And I told her, I was like, we really should have did it before and after, because the juiciness. I was like, thank God I know how to teach. Thank God I know how to teach, and thank God I had that time to work on myself. I wouldn't know how to teach that had I not taken that time to work on myself. And it wasn't just that coach; it was also another coach that was helping me on those things. And even another experienced coach, because I was taking a lesson with her, another higher, like, who I respect, mentor like coach. Okay, I was doing cross rolls one day and she was just like, oh, she was like, I wish my students understood how to do that. And I was like, thank you. And not just because I've been working on it, but like also because, I teach people how to work on them too. So anyways, um, I'm really excited for my upgrade is what I'm saying. I'm really excited for that. I just don't know what everything else is going to look like. And that is, you know, what I got to roll with. Okay, couple of honorable mentions. It's 3:03 on the clock, so I need to get. I'm getting a little tired. We're at the 2 hour mark. I think Spirit needs to. If I can make any request, God, can you just keep these at like 130, 100, an hour and 30 to an hour and 45 or something like that? Because these 2 hour ones, like, who's watching these? Who's gonna watch this video? Tell me. If you're watching this, tell me. Oh God, tell me. But again, a part of it is showing up, and a part of it is just building it. Build it, they will come. Build it, they will come. Build it, they will come. Okay. Um, mentions that I didn't mention yet, because I think I did all of the mage topics. Oh my God. I feel like these are just church announcements. Is that what this really is about to be? Okay, church announcements. If I didn't call it church, what do I call it? Temple? Temple announcements? Hmm. Temple announcements? Hmm. Shooting star announcements? I don't know. Anyways, one thing I wanted to mention on here, and I don't know why, and I don't know how I'm tying this in. So, being everyone's type, okay? Um, to be honest with you, if you're an earth angel, you probably are everyone's type. Even people who be like, oh, you're not my type. I've had plenty of people, I've witnessed people who've been like, you know, I have this certain type. It could be like blonde hair, blue eyes, like skinny, perky tip. It could be a whole bunch of shit that I'm not, right? And even though I'm smaller now, like I just wouldn't put myself in that full category, right? Um, but yeah, they can be like, I only like people who look like this. That could be so much of truth. I wouldn't say 100%. That could be so much of truth. But I'm kind of one of those people that I am everybody's type. And I don't know if it's just my spirit. I don't know if it's just my earth angel energy. Um, because it's not like I'm over here thinking like I'm the hottest bitch in the world. Like that's not how I'm walking around by far. But I know that people are attracted to me, and I know that people are drawn into me. Um, and even people who will swear I'm not they type. Swear I'm not they type. They be having them dreams. You know how I know? Because God has a way of telling me if somebody had that dream about me, had a sort of dream about me. Because then it'll show up in a certain way, and I'd be like, girl, because I know it's not coming from me. Even the other day, I came around one of my skater friends, and I literally had to be like, was that a dream? Like, did I just have a thought before I went to bed? Or was that a dream? Because if it was a dream, then that means that they're probably thinking about me a little bit in that way. And unsure as to why they're probably feeling about me that way. I don't know. But when I was listening to the video, I didn't even watch this whole video. The first thing this one reader said, she was like, and maybe the card was like High Priestess energy or something like that. But she was like, Divine Feminine, you're somebody who's everybody's type. And I cracked up. I had to pause the video. I had to just laugh because it's so funny how I used to like be so insecure, but no, like hearing that statement, I also feel like that's my truth. I also feel like that's my truth, being everyone's type, you know? But that's why I feel like it also attracts, you know, those people that I say are haters, that are just really haters or confused fans, because they do be confused. I'm like, even Slim Jim and them, they want to be my friends on those, like on the low and maybe on the mid. They be wanting to be my friends. I can tell. I can tell. I can tell. They be wanting to be my friends so bad. They be wanting to be my friends so bad. And sometimes it's just like that kid that just like doesn't get enough attention. Like if you're not going to give them attention in one way, then they'll make trouble. So you at least give them attention in the other way. That's what this feels like a lot of times. That's what it feels like, because I'm not, oh my God, you're so great, or like puffing, like, you know, whatever is with them, because they're also not my focus. I don't do that with no other coaches, neither. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, maybe they are. Maybe they're my charges in this life. Oh my God. Who said? But to me, I feel like because I don't give them attention in one way, that they be wanting to elicit attention in another way. And because too, I also just have like students. I attract good students. I attract good students, and I help make students better. Because there's been plenty of times I had to tell this, and I said, this is not my first rodeo. And like, it's really not my first rodeo. Okay. Because there's times, one of my earlier students that I had for a long time, one of my first like long time, I had her, worked with her for 8 years. I remember when she started to skate and she was like taking lessons and even being on the teams that she was on or whatever, these coaches was like, used to like talk about her a little bit. Used to be like I always, to me, I feel like maybe I attract the underdogs a little bit too. The underdogs who really are great though, you know, because this one coach, or like nobody wanted this one student. They would always like kind of be like, oh, she skates a little weird or whatever. I don't know if they said it like that. So if you know who you are, the skater, I don't know if they said it like that. But there would just be this notion behind like, you know, nobody was like, when people are kind of have more of that natural talent, people are like, ooh, I wish I was working with them, have that energy. And so nobody really felt that way towards the skater that much. Not when I first started to work with them at all, to be honest with you. And to me, I felt like they underestimated her for a long time. And then after so many years of, you know, building her skating, her getting better, me helping, she also did other teams which helped her grow her skating even faster. Now all of a sudden, now people are looking at her, oh, she's a good skater. Oh, that's a really high axle. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So where literally there was one time where this coach that I, you know, still have fondness for though too. He wanted to like co-coach or something, but I knew that he wasn't a co-coaching type coach, to where he's like one of those like, we're gonna co-coach and then you're my student, you know, sort of thing. And so I was like, nah, like I'm not into it. I'm okay. It's okay, you know. Um, and yeah, I think like later on, I maybe let them work together a little bit. I can't even remember. I felt like that was so long ago too. That was like prior to COVID. Yeah. Well, prior to COVID. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's a long time ago. Um, and again, I feel like that happens so many times with other students too, where it's like people are not checking on my people until they become my people. Okay. And then people are like, so I don't know. People just be wanting my energy in different ways. There was something that I wanted to get off of my chest. Another song that was on my mind, or my fingers kept just being one way, where I was just like, you know? And I was like, why does my middle finger keep wanting to come out? And then the song, middle fingers up, I ain't thinking about you. I ain't sorry. I ain't sorry. I ain't sorry. No. Tell him, boy, bye. Um, Maybe you're at a transition. Maybe there's somebody that you need to say bye to. Maybe there's somebody that you just need to like energetically put your middle finger up towards. But I definitely know that there's somebody energetically that is exiting the building, exiting the system, exit stage left. Okay. Um, because I definitely kept picking up on these different like musical cues that were just like, and I don't feel like it's the work situation at all. I definitely feel like it's this other situation or this other like person from my past. And the notion is that really like was eye opening for me yesterday was like somebody was like, there's a person taking your energy. And I feel like I've heard somebody like a reader say this before, but it didn't hit like the way this hit. But they were like, this one guy that's toxic or whatever from your past. Um, and he was just stealing your good energy, your light to go and take to somebody else that didn't live in the light. And I was just like, and it was like a mixture between a song and a video. And I was just like, whoa, whoa. Because although I've healed so much around that relationship, and even though I know that they were like kind of trying to talk to other people, because that's what the reading was saying, that they were trying to talk to other people while we were like talking, you know. And I had a dream about like a whole dream that told me some shit that I was like, oh, and then got confirmation from it soon after. Um, and even though I knew that that happened, to me, I felt like there's so much of me that I was like, okay, fine, I'm done, I've healed that. But when they said something like they were stealing your good energy, your light, to give to somebody else, I said, oh, wow. I like felt that. Like I felt that, which would leave me in a state of like confusion and lostness and waywardness and all that stuff, which was what it felt like back then. And it was, just, hearing that one made me instantly call my energy back. Okay. Called all my energy back. Okay. And as I was having these thoughts, this was like one of those, like, I'm in the bath thoughts. I felt it in my heart. Like, even getting out of the bath, I felt like there was a level of heart healing that needed to happen there. And so this morning, waking up with songs, like there was another song, I can't even think of it right now. But it was that same instance of being like, oh wait, I had it Googled, or like pulled up, but I think I don't know if I closed it. Oh yes, Epiphany. I'm Leaving by Chrisette Michelle. Um, oh, so I think I'm just about over being your girlfriend. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. And I was like, that song came out of nowhere. I said, whoa, I haven't heard that song in so long. I had to look it up. I said, ooh, what are the lyrics? What? And then getting that whole middle finger stuff. I ain't thinking about you. I ain't sorry. I ain't sorry. I ain't sorry. No, I ain't sorry. I ain't sorry. So it's given that. Given that to where it feels like there's heart healing that needs to happen. There's something that you're letting, there's a deeper, another cord that you recently cut, at least I feel like I cut, or like a siphoning that you have cut off, because that's literally what was going on, bro. Because it was somebody I had been with for on and off for 13 fucking years, and I was in the whirlpool of that conundrum. They were like that old person that you had been with and rocked with or whatever, that you were giving your good energy to. They were going over and taking it to this new person just because they have to do the new person doo-doo-doos, trying to make them happy. I said that was real, because the person that I was with, he wasn't the happiest being in the world, okay? The most positive person in the world, okay? It wasn't that. He wasn't that. And although I always will send, love to everybody, love to the whole universe, okay? Um, yeah, he was kind of shitty. And I knew that he ended up talking to somebody else. I knew that he had like kissed somebody else. Like it was like a thing where I was like, bruh. In the dream, his dad came and told me himself. I said, oh, wow. Even your parents are telling on you. Because that's what it was. It was like, it was crazy dream. That was a crazy dream. And that was a crazy dream. Anyways. So letting go of people. But reclaiming yourself, reclaiming your goodness, reclaiming your light. Period. Period. That's the energy I'm on. Some other mentions before I get off of here. Is I wanted to mention, and maybe we'll still have a longer video about this later. But I wanted to mention like building your last conversation. I think we were talking about building, or at least 2 conversations ago, building an altar, having time with your ancestors, X, Y, and Z, right? And I just wanted to highlight the fact that sitting with your ancestors or having ancestor time or altar time, whichever one you want to call it. I like to call it altar time a lot of times. Sometimes I say ancestor time because it's one and the same for me. But it looks different. And I think a lot of times people may have this idea or concept that like when you're going to have altar time or a meditation table or something like that, or floor, whatever setup, that you're just sitting there and it's just like, and like, granted, if that's the type of person you are, and that's the way that you get down and rock, like that could be that. But I know for me, in my spiritual practice, my altar time looks different often. Like it has some general layout. I do say my prayer. I do have a journal nearby in case journaling is what wants to come up. But it has been different so many times. Sometimes it's just a space for me to give myself a better like Reiki session. Sometimes they'll require me to dance. Like the other day, it was a dancing altar time. It was like, oh no, we dancing. And not only dancing, we were making music, right? Which brings me to nature's soundtrack. So I was like, I have this like mantra that I created into like this little song situation. So I'm over here like singing the song, lifting myself up, feeling it, right? And I'm like creating the beat with my hand or whatever, right? Or some of the beats. Half of the beat I'm like hearing in my head where I'm like, oh, this should knock. And then half of the beat I'm like doing with my hand, right? And then my cat was there, who likes to come and sit in spirit time with me too, altar time with me too, that's because it's become a ritual. Um, but I had like my journal and how her tail was hitting my journal, how my journal was set. It was creating like a drum beat. And then she was getting on beat with it. I said, hey, so then I started to gig even harder. I said, this should go hard. I was like, ooh, nature soundtrack already. Already I was feeling that. Then I had gotten to a different part, right? Because like I kept pulling the song to different like arenas. So I got to this one arena that I was like, and it was like, bro, when I tell you that there was like somebody's like car, I don't know if it was like a truck siren or not a siren, but it was just like a whatever, I guess a siren. But all I could hear in the background was dee doo dee doo dee doo dee doo. I said, this shit ain't even harder. I said, my song was going so hard, so hard. So, one, music, make music, do music, okay? Listen to music, dance to music, play music, create a beat. Girl, you could do it with anything. Like, take a little, you know what I mean? Like, do something, but definitely, like, get into it and be open to like hearing what's going on, because when I tell you, nature soundtrack has been hitting it this week. Like there was something else I was singing, and then there was like this thing at the this thing at the right time, and I was like, "Ooh, that's spirit out here! Look at it, look at it!" And then I was singing Macarena earlier, and I did the after the I or and I was calling it Ashante. Um, the birds kept like tweeting, and it felt like it was like the background music. Somebody is sad. So for anybody that's sad right now, like I hope that you're not. Like listen to music, like feel better. Yeah. Feel better. I hope feel better. Thank you. Thank you. Feel better. Listen to music, dance, do what you need to do, sit with altar, right? The other thing I wanted to say with altar time is like, yes, dancing, crying, all those music things. Dancing, crying, music things. That's so funny. Dancing, singing, that's what I meant, music things. But sometimes it requires like a good cry. It's not uncommon for you to cry at altar time. Sometimes spirit will tell me and encourage me to study. So the other day or a couple of days, I don't know, some time ago, um, it was really only a couple of days ago, like when I opened up my altar ancestor time, it was like, okay, you need to go and look up this verse, or you need to look into your Bible. So I, was like, okay, my Bible. And then that day, because I had more time to give to spirit, and didn't have to like rush off to work or anything like that, I was able to study the Bible for 2 hours. Um, and that was my altar time. And then sometimes it's coloring. Sometimes it's literally just coloring in a coloring book or doodling. Um, Other things, silence, obviously, writing, obviously, journaling, obviously, breathing, also obvious. Okay, just focusing on your breathing all the time can just be focusing on your breathing. But sensuality came up. So sensualness comes up for me sometimes in altar space, where I need to either, whether it's like normal, just like self care, I'm gonna do my nails or something like that. Maybe it's not that, but maybe it's like I need to like oil myself, or maybe I need to dance in a certain way, or move in the mirror in a certain way, you know. Um, but that comes up too. Uh, what else I put on here was blowing bubbles. So there was one day this happened a while ago. I was like, I woke up and I had like heaviness and I was like sad. And I don't know if I knew exactly where it was coming from, or if I had just like an inkling of one aspect of it, but it felt like more than that. Um, and I have this like little personal bubble thing on my thing. And God was like, blow the bubbles. And I was like, blow the bubbles? Really? Yeah. And I was like, okay. So I took out the bubbles and I blew them. And like, because I love color, because I love iridescence, because I like the idea of them flying around and just brings me straight into childhood, like it provided a levity for me to be able to open up more to spirit. It provided a levity for me to get on with my day, to move forward. So just know that altar time, ancestor time can look different for everybody. I would say just be open to what it can become, you know. Maybe it is you making music. Maybe you have flutes and that's like your thing, you know. Um, it could be anything, to be honest with you. Don't let my creativity stop you. So, last thing, I think, apparently, I'm supposed to be keep talking to you guys about asking for help. Um, like I was just telling whoever was sad just now, because somebody got sad. Okay, why? Because spirit gives me messages, and I saw it, and I feel like they're happier, so I'm rolling with it. But if you find yourself in a space where you're not the happiest, you're not feeling your best, or you don't really have the answers to certain things, I would just say ask for help. Ask for help. Ask for help. Ask for help. It is my journey and my process to practice it more, obviously, but it's also my journey and my practice to be sharing that with you more because it keeps coming up. And the specifics around what I wanted to say around asking for help. Like I mentioned before, obviously, when you're asking for help, you are opening up a space for both people, both parties to be blessed. Okay. One, you asking is a blessing because it gives somebody an opportunity. That's the words that came up. Opportunities, ways, and waves. Opportunities, ways to go about things, and waves. And then I had like goosebumps right afterwards. And maybe those are the four blessings in one. It gives people the opportunities. It gives them, the person that's helping, opportunity, and the person that's getting help the opportunity to do whatever they need to do with whatever help that they're getting. Um, and that can have so many other ripple effects to it too, right? Like maybe you're helping a single parent and that means that that's helping their children. Like that is a ripple effect. Or somebody who's taking care of their mom. Like it could be a ripple effect. And then it provides ways, ways and modes. So maybe even if that person doesn't have the expertise, maybe they know somebody that does. Maybe they have access to somebody who has information. Um, or just asking for that creates like a thought, an idea that nobody even thought possible. It just opened up a new way. It opened up a new way, you know, something that wasn't there before. And then I wrote waves, right? And waves I meant in like, I think in change, but also in currency, you know, because it is a currency exchange and it is like not a rebuffering, but maybe a rebuffering of energy in a way to where it's like you were one way 20, it was 2 3, it was all of 2 3s, okay. um but fuck, um maybe, oh, how was I gonna say this? I don't even know. Distracted myself off of my own thought. Waves. Waves, waves, waves. Baby. Oh, waves, waves, waves. Okay. Untie my tongue. Yes. I said untie my tongue. Currency, energy. Thank you. Thank you. Flow. Untie my tongue. Untie my tongue. Okay. Currency meaning like love energy, like not just monetarily. Like it creates these vibrations. That's what I want to say. It's like you may feel one way asking for help, but then somebody being like, oh, yes, I can help you makes them light up. And then being like, oh, I can help you, being like, somebody can help me. Now you feel a sense of relief, which opens up your like life and like creates a different currency in you. And then you being so like proud and thankful gives them something and then gives you something. And then not only that, but then maybe you tell somebody, oh, I was so grateful this person helped me with this, that I was able to get this help, or, I had a generous donor or donation or whatever it is. But it creates these waves, this currency of like magnetism of goodness, asking for help. I don't think like the only like only good can come from asking for help, and I think the only time that it's not good is if somebody is like unwilling to help. But even in that, at least you have trimmed the fat. Now you know, okay, this is the person not to go to. You know, that's not the person to go to. Like Uncle Sam is somebody good to go to for some things, but not for other things. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean, right? We like Uncle Sam if he's giving us grants or kickbacks. And then we don't like Uncle Sam just that much more when we got to give them something that we got, sometimes. But why are you using that? I don't know, because I'm getting tired. And we're almost at 3 hours. Like, who's doing this for 3 hours? It's 3:33 on the clock, though. All the threes are in the building. Okay. But then also, so creating waves, creating currency, creating great energy, right? Building energy, right? Um, when it's up, then it's up, then it's up, then it's up. That's what it feels like. Okay. And then goosebumps, right? When you are building an energy that comes out in a really positive and raw way, like it just gives you goosies. Okay. Like this, I was watching a video this morning of this guy singing, and he was singing like one of Billie Eilish songs, and he was singing like that register at first. I think it's the song Lovely because I had a skater skate to it. Um, and so he was singing like the falsetto part, and then he goes and drops into his register. And already it was just like, oh, give me this. And he has this nice like tone to his voice, right? It's not quite like saxophony, but it has a horn in there. There has a horn in there somewhere. And then he holds one of the last notes of whatever he was singing that was just like a wail. And it was like a clear wail into like a raspy wail. Oh, mm-hmm. That's how it makes me feel. That's God, girl. When I tell you, oh, it was all the things and more. It was all the things and more. Every time I heard it, it was just like goosebumps. Thank you. Because it just pulls something. It was like, and that is what I mean when it's like currency, waves, and it like pulls something out of you, bro. Because watching it, it was just like, okay, an opportunity, an opportunity, an opportunity. And he started to sing, and I was like, ooh, those are waves. Mm-hmm. Waves. Then he got into his tone, and I was like, oh, okay, you're doing something. You're making me feel. You're making me feel. And then he goes to that next level, and I was just like, that is God. There's nothing that can convince me otherwise. That was God. Okay. God. Okay. And so now also talking about, even though this is like asking for help, like somebody, and also you're the You showing up and doing the thing that you want to do is the answer to somebody. Like, somebody prayed for you. Somebody prayed to find somebody to come across that was you, that was like you, that talked like you, that said the things you do. You know, you are somebody's answered prayer. So this man singing, not only was he there because he was somebody's answered prayer, right? In the crowd, like even the people in the crowd wanted to cry. Like, you just pulled something so raw in our spirit and in our essences that was just so wonderful and magical, and something that we needed. We needed that like light bulb. We needed that switch. We needed that change to happen. Oh, it's just so good. It's so good. It's kind of similar to how I feel about like an electric guitar. There are so many different like I love a piano, okay? And I love me a violin. And I really love me a cello, okay? Ugh. But an electric guitar, talk to me. Ah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. Oh, God. God. Just God. So, again, just reiterating music. Maybe music is what you need this week. Music brings you through all the emotions. I would also, though, say be mindful of what you're listening to. If it's getting you to a point that you don't like sometimes, like, here's my thing. I say be mindful of what you're listening to, but I'm not saying just listen to like basic music, right? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying be mindful of what you're listening to, because sometimes songs will pull you in a certain space that you don't want to go, and that you don't even necessarily really want to see at that time, even though that it can be really good for other times. So there's like this one song. If I'm like fine and everything's like dandy, like when I hear that song, it's called Happy. The name of the song is Happy, and I think it's like a question mark in the title of it. And I think it's by like Mudvayne or something like that. Girl, I don't even know the group, but I had listened to it one day back in the day when they used to have, what was that, Rasputin? I don't know, some music store where you could just like sample different songs like with the headset. It was one of those songs that I sampled, 24 that I sampled, and I was like, I like this song. I need this song in my life. And I was a little bit of a rocker there too. So it just worked for me. But if I listen to that song and I'm like actually in a happy place, like it can make me maybe question my happy place. If I'm like feeling good, but maybe there's some other underlying energies going on, that song helps me process that. Um, it's a good song to like yell to, one of those like, are you feeling happy? And it's all that is me, another run over, and finally what sets me free. No, you put me under and push me down. Peel me from the skin, tear me from the brine. I have to be very clear on my energy when I sing that song, because I be like not trying to invite any other shit. Okay. Because I don't be anyways, but it'd be like, just being mindful. Because sometimes when you're more vulnerable and you're singing some shit that you shouldn't be singing, you may be like, if you're singing a heartbreak song, say if you're like, you're in the new stage of a relationship, right? You're in that hopeful stage of a relationship. And you listen to like 10, like, he's no good for you, he's cheating, or turn away, or single life. You know what I mean? If you're listening to all of that stuff while you're trying to like start a new relationship, like you're not necessarily influencing the relationship probably in the way that you want to influence the relationship, is what I'm saying. So just paying attention, just having mindful thought about what you're listening to when you're listening to it. you know. But also being more, precious and open with nature soundtrack. And maybe that just takes a little bit more meditation. Maybe you need to quiet out your system and your realms. But this is how you know I'm starting to get a little too tired. 24:44, 2:44:44. That's what it was. I keep trying to read the time and I can't because it's too long. Okay. I gotta go. It's almost 4 o'clock. I've been here since 1 o'clock. I love y'all so much. I hope this was good. I don't think there's anything else I need to say. Continue to be lookable and stickable. Come on, God. All right, that's it. Oh, I did want to talk about some Kalima energy, but maybe on the next video because we are definitely in this Octoberville where we need to be a little bit more. But we good today, so that's all. Love y'all. Bye. like, share, subscribe. Put a comment. Put a comment in the comments. Put a comment in the comments if you made it here. If you like hung around, comment in the comments. The least you can do. Make me feel like I'm doing all right. I appreciate it. Have a great day.